Senators, it is time, so I will ask you to find your seats. I hereby call to order the 20th meeting of the 62nd session of Student Senate on February 19th at 6:30 p.m. Before we move into everything, we do have a new senator that we will get sworn in. So if I can have you approach the podium, please. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hereby swear
I hereby swear
that I will faithfully serve
that I will faithfully serve
the students of Wichita State University,
the students of Wichita State University,
act in accordance with
act in accordance with
the Student Government Association Constitution,
the Student Government Association Constitution,
and fulfill all duties and responsibilities
and fulfill all duties and responsibilities
required of the office of.
required of the office of Student Senator.
I will,
I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the Student Government Association
the Constitution of the Student Government Association
of Wichita State University.
of Wichita State University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move into section 3, roll call. When I call your name, please answer with either present or here. Senator Brown,
Here.
Senator Castillo,
Present.
Senator Cowden,
Present.
Senator Day,
Here.
Senator Ezell, Senator Flores, Senator Hopper, Senator James,
Here.
Senator Jiten,
Here.
Senator Kennedy,
Present.
Senator Khan,
Here.
Senator Kirk,
Here.
excused, Senator Madden,
Here.
Senator Mahajan,
Present.
Senator Majors,
Present.
Senator Morgan, Senator Mounts, Senator Nazir,
Present.
Senator Nguyen, Senator Perkins,
Present.
Senator Peter is also excused, Senator Ritchie,
Present.
Senator Sanchez,
Here.
Senator Spencer,
Here.
Senator Taran, Senator Thomas,
Here.
Senator Tubak,
Present.
Senator Senator Zacharias,
Here.
Senator Ziad.
Here.
So we have met quorum tonight with 21 total in attendance. Simple majority will be 11, 2/3 of present will be 14, and 2/3 majority will be 22. Moving into section 4, approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections to be noted to the meeting on February 5th? Seeing none, the minutes will be adopted as such. Moving into section 5, public forum. Public forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the Senate. This is a time for the association to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer our undivided respect and attention. I would like to remind everyone that although we allow the speakers the privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speakers do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the association or the university. Lastly, in the essence of time, we do limit speeches in public forum to a length of 3 minutes unless the speaker has spoken to us about it ahead of time. That being said, we have the Director of Public Relations has requested time, and so I yield the floor to you.
Hi everyone. So tonight I went ahead and put some things together to talk to you about because it's kind of lengthy and a lot of details, and so I don't know, it just would have been kind of a hassle to put it through Katrina in a report. So I have put together a week-long series of events called Women in the Workplace for leading up to International Women's Day on March 8th. So it's going to be kind of a celebration across campus of different professionals from our community coming onto campus and talking to students. So the first 3 days we're going to have 3 separate panels. One is Ambitious Entrepreneurs on Monday, March 2nd at 6 p.m. in RSC 142. This is going to be a panel of women in business and communications fields, and our own Cynthia Matson is going to be our facilitator for that panel. And then on Tuesday, we're going to be hosting Cultivating Compassion, which is going to be on March 3rd at 6 p.m. in RSC 142 as well. This is going to be a variety of education and health professionals from across the community, and Josie will be leading and facilitating that panel. Our third and final panel is Innovative Intellectuals, and it will be members of professionals from various STEAM fields, and that will be on March 4th at 5 p.m. in the John Bardeau Center, room 246. So the way that the panels are going to look is 15 minutes of panel questions, which I have put together, and then 15 minutes of audience question and answer, so student questions, and then 15 minutes of networking with these professionals, and there will be snacks, of course, for students, and I guess the professionals too. But that way there's an opportunity to network with these professionals. So one of the events that I'm really excited about is on Thursday. It will be called Fearlessly Female, and we're having the Secretary of Labor, Delia Garcia, come and speak to campus. So she will be hosting our keynote speech in the CAC Theater on March 5th at 6 p.m. So that's that Thursday. I think it's a really great opportunity to come and hear from one of our representatives and somebody in the government, the local the Kansas legislation. And then on Friday, we're going to be hosting a woman-to-woman networking event, and it will be from 4:30 till 6. It's going to be snacks and conversation starters, and we're inviting women from all over the community and also students to come into the John Bardeau Center and network with women from everywhere. We're pretty much just putting out this invitation to all women in the Wichita area. It'll be a come-and-go event, and so I highly, highly recommend attending at least one of these events that week. I think it's going to be an awesome event leading up to International Women's Day. Facebook events will be up tomorrow at 3 p.m., and marketing is rolling out. Does anybody have any questions for me about this week?
Are there any questions?
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, thank you guys.
With that, I would open the floor to anyone else wishing to speak in public forum at this time. Come on up.
Awesome. I'm assuming you can hear me now. Again, hi, my name is Adrienne. I'm getting my PhD here in community psychology, and I, as the, head organizer and founder, I would like to introduce you to what we, Wichita State Share. Share stands for Sexual Health Education, or Advocacy, Resources, and Education. And we will be an affiliate of Planned Parenthood here on campus if we are registered. To give a little background of why I wanted to bring this to campus and how it kind of came about was in my community psychology program, I do research on sexual health and victimization within sexual violence as well. So this is something that's I'm very passionate myself with. And I think that when I had actually sought out to Planned Parenthood last fall in hopes to get resources and education because I felt there was a huge gap and there's a conversation that wasn't being had here on our campus. And so I had sought out resources from them, and then they're like, let's create an organization, and so here I am. I do want to bring WSU Share here because we do have how do I say this? We have a loud voice that is not representative of our population, I believe, and it's time to start talking about our sexual health and our reproductive health and owning it. It's time to start having that stigma thrown away in order to have these conversations that we are most educated and making the best decisions for ourselves. The affiliation with Planned Parenthood is strategic in the fact that Wichita is one of the 2 cities in Kansas that actually have Planned Parenthood health centers here in our city. And we are, in our city, our health center is the only one that offers hormone replacement therapy. And as an executive committee of over, majority queer women, we are all about that as well. So with the group, what we plan to do is we do advocacy. There is no Wichita organizer here with Planned Parenthood, so we do want to do advocacy work on our campus. But beyond that, as psychologists, community psychologists, and we have clinical psychologists on our exec team, do advocacy work in the Wichita community as well and help undergrads and teach them and go through that process as well. Resources, obviously promote resources, and then education, doing an inclusive, all about education through programming, tabling. Tomorrow we have our first tabling event, and we are going to have vulva and scrotum cookies for everybody to come decorate, as well as it's National Condom Week, so we'll be giving away condoms to everybody. So please stop and check us out, but that's kind of our goals for right now. So.
Thank you. Does anybody need any points of clarification over the material you've just been presented? Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Dope. Thank you so much.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak at public forum at this time?
So my name is Sophie Glasgow. I'm a junior here at Wichita State studying marketing and entrepreneurship. I am the president of a new organization called Her Campus Wichita. Her Campus Media is an international organization with over 360 chapters all over the world, and we brought our chapter here in November of last year. As a team, we write articles for our website, host events on and off campus, and create social media content. Our main platform is our website, and we write articles concerning sex, career, money, college, fashion, beauty, and kind of everything in between. And our goal is to encourage, celebrate, and inspire the women of WSU. 2 weeks ago, we passed through the Ways and Means Committee, and just waiting on your vote today.
Does anybody need any points of clarification on this? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in public forum at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into section 6, officer reports. Item A, President's report.
Alrighty, hello everyone, long time no see. So all I have is just a couple of things. Just once again, task forces. We still have a lot of open seats on those. So if you know of anybody, please encourage them to apply for those. We are beginning to plan our higher education day, which will take place on March 19th. Applications will open here very, very soon, hopefully by the end of this week. applications should be open. You can start turning those in as soon as possible. I don't remember the deadline off the top of my head, so I'll also post that on the Facebook page and the link to where you can find the application if that's something you're interested in. As for the Kansas Board of Regents, we had our meeting today. The Student Advisory Council letter that I created to advocate for higher education funding for all of the Regent institutions, not only Regent institutions, but the community colleges, technical colleges, is finished now. Now we are just collecting the e-signatures from all the student body presidents for the Regent schools to sign that, and then we'll send it off to not only the Regents, but all the legislators that we've met with for Higher Education Day. We also, which I do believe is on the floor tonight, is our resolution on the floor tonight? Okay, not on the floor tonight. A resolution for us will be coming here shortly, but all the Regent institutions wrote a resolution advocating for higher education funding as well, and so we submitted the one that will be on the floor here shortly to the Regents, also just as a just to show what we plan to put forward, and then also all of the resolutions that the other institutions have passed as well. Yeah, and then as for our SAC meeting today, not a whole lot. Mostly everybody is just preparing for their student fees processes and elections, really, which we're doing here as well. Aside from that, the big project I've been trying to work on is Senate Review Board, just reviewing that, and then also university committees here soon, and then just prepping for student fees since that is next week. And if you're not on the committee, I just want to remind you all that you are more than welcome to attend those meetings and sit in, even if it's for just 15 minutes. I would highly recommend just dropping in, seeing what's going on, because they are open meetings, and they're also live streamed. So if you aren't on campus that day, but you just want to know what's going on, watch the live stream. It's a really good way to stay involved and know what's going on in the student fees process. The treasurer does not have a report to give, just day-to-day business, budget and finance meetings, things like that. If you have any questions, I would suggest meeting with her to discuss those. And then Director of Public Relations already spoke at Public Forum. So the other report that I have is for Chief of Operations. So over the last week, I've worked on the resolution regarding higher education funding in Kansas, which we are still looking for sponsors on. Check your emails for a copy of the resolution and let me, Kathleen, know if you want to sponsor it. This is an important piece of legislation not only for Wichita State students, but for students across the Regent schools. I've also begun planning Higher Education Day. It will be March 19th. We will be discussing the great things that Wichita State does and can do with further higher education funding, including mental health resources that, while good, can still be improved at WSU. And on the topic of higher education, today I went to my first Kansas Board of Regents meeting. Yay! And that's all I have.
Are there any questions for the president? Senator Madden?
Do we have an update on Senate Bill 76?
Yeah. So I have until Friday at 5 p.m. to make my final decision. So you will all hear by then.
Before we get to your follow-up, is there any other questions for the president? Seeing none. Senator Madden? Oh, Senator Ritchie?
I was just going to ask if you can remind us for the meeting times for student fees, or wait, no. Is that student fees that you were the committee meetings you were just talking about?
Next week? What? What committee meetings? What do you mean? Student fees is from 1 to 5 every day next week. You're talking about task forces, higher ed day.
I guess I don't remember,
Okay,
that's
but
fine.
student fees starts at 1 every single day. At least that's what's scheduled until we make the decision. So, do you remember? It's in 233 also. So, if you want to attend those, I highly recommend it.
Senator Madden, you still have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for the Chief of Operations, actually. I see in the agenda email that the Vice President sent out that for this resolution, the title is put as SR 62-001, but I think we've already had a couple resolutions, so is that because of a different naming scheme? I'm just wanting to, know.
What
in the meeting agenda for
Yeah.
today.
So the one that you were working on, there was SR because
Oh,
it's a
did you-
Senate resolution,
okay.
and you're wanting to change it to a resolution, so that number will be updated.
So yeah, no, it's just it hasn't been like through the Senate yet, so it doesn't have a number.
So what that one is, for the SR is a Senate resolution, not a resolution, and we haven't had any Senate resolutions yet. But that was a typo, and it should be a just plain resolution, and we will update the number accordingly when that happens.
Can I,
Senator Day, was that a question? Go for it.
can I ask what the difference is between resolutions and Senate resolutions?
So Senate resolutions only require my signature that approves the verbiage that is printed is what the Senate has approved to go through. It does not require the president's signature to actually go into effect. From there, they are used for several different things. The main reason of why we created them was to put people on temporary suspensions, which would necessitate not having the president signature on there. But there are a couple other things that they could be used for that I'm just not coming to my head right now. Does that answer your question, Senator Madden? Are there any other questions for the president? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll now move into item B, Vice President's report. Evening, everyone. So I've got a couple updates for you. International hardship, we've been processing a few as of late, and I told you we've had a higher influx than the typical year. Bless you. So we just got done processing 4 individuals, and they will be awarded or denied as appropriate that the committee had deemed. We're also taking a good look at the application packet itself to kind of come up with, check things for instances of clarity, whether or not we're going to add or ask for additional information, which as we've gone through the process, we've noted, hey, this piece makes it really easy when some people submit them and makes it slightly difficult to assess any particular individual's hardship when it is not. And so we're talking about what needs to be added, as well as creating and providing templates for those that are already there, but we get inconsistent feedback. Sometimes it's hard to read. Sometimes it's located in a statement, and we kind of have to pick it out instead of having a detailed, for the income and expenses is one, which we ask for a detailed explanation. And if you include that within a statement, we kind of have to extrapolate that out to figure out exactly what money is going where. And so we created templates, and we're now providing those along with the packet for them to use as guides. They don't have to be exact, but just like this is kind of what we're looking for when we're asking for this kind of supporting documentation. But it also gives them a jumping point of there's a template for this. I might want to think about submitting something like this. Because it's not always clear what supporting documentation entails. With that, the Military Veterans and First Responders Task Force had their second meeting where we really just delved into what exactly the role is going to be. So I am currently on the what we do currently, but I'm also feeding information out there. But more information will be recorded in the president as I feed information up her way. Some exciting news for the community garden. We met last Thursday to kind of go over the final design. We all agreed, so we're moving forward with that. From there, we talked with Kristen Beal, who was our placemaking partner, about what we can and can't do according to university policy with student art within it. She went and talked to a few individuals and came back to us. So her placemaking fund that she was already approved for through a grant, she was able to get the university to allocate $10,000 out of that to the garden, and so we can start construction sooner than we intended. With that, a couple things, that amount will do everything that we had planned, as well as maybe a couple other things. But what that allows us to do is really get a head start on not planting, but thinking of how are we going to incorporate students in the community with the setup of, are we going to have the, volunteer hours to come help build these, raised boxes. What that looked like during our meeting was they were going to be prefabricated within the carpentry shop, and then volunteers could assemble them on site. But that's one that we were talking about and isn't for sure at the moment. One thing that we are doing right now is collecting seeds. So if you yourself or know anybody that wants to donate seeds to the garden, you can send them to me. I've already got a bunch of mine in the office, but we're going to start germinating here soon to get them ready to plant. And we're going to, about a week or so before we actually open the garden, invite everybody out and have you physically plant those that we have already started. So that way on opening day you already have plants in place and everything is ready to go, and you can just go on with the celebration instead of celebrating by digging holes. Other than that, I got a lot of administrative stuff that I've been doing, but I do stand for questions if there are any. Senator Ritchie.
Is there any preference on like what kind of seeds you want donated, or like food crops, or like flowering plants, or?
So we're primarily going food. So there may or may not be some decorative stuff going on for floral, but this garden is meant to be a vegetable. So anything along those lines, more than welcome. Senator Day.
In terms of the community garden, a number of my constituents have expressed interest in displaying art on campus in various places. And I know the community garden will accept some, but how does that work? How would they submit the art to the garden, if that makes sense?
That's a fair question, and thank you for asking it. So the original idea was to have a competition and have the university pick. We were going to do the art on a concrete retaining wall that is already there. The university is against that. It's too much on maintenance, things of that nature. So instead of doing it on concrete, we're going to be putting essentially little wooden billboards that would be interchangeable and repaintable, as well as weather resistant, depending on what we end up actually making them out of. But we still plan on doing the competition. So you would submit your idea for your artwork. But instead of you have one giant mural to do, now we have several different. So it may end up, instead of being one winner, you get 5, and 5 pieces are displayed within at any given time. And then when it comes time, like they start getting faded or worn, or some shovel goes into it and is destroyed and we have to replace it, maybe we run another competition, and that way it's artwork that the university has okayed, but is also student work and conceptual, all their idea. Does that answer your question? Any other questions for my report? Moving into Section 7, Other Reports. Item A, Academics.
Okay, hi everyone. So on the 10th, Monday the 10th, I went to the Faculty Senate meeting, and Professor Shaw spoke about the SEM update, which is enrollment at WSU. If you want to attend a meeting, the next one is March 31st at 8 a.m. You can sign up for it at Shocker Blast. But it basically spoke about goals, demographics, challenges, and successes. The challenges include the rate of high school students attending WSU has decreased, and there's also declining amount of community college enrollment from Butler, Cowley, Hutch. They spoke over the recruitment methods. The main three was sending emails, high school visits, and maintaining a good social media page. And lastly, she spoke about how important retention is here at WSU, and they took data on it, and 72% first-year students retained into their second year at WSU, so that was good news for them. On the 17th, I attended an open and alternative committee meeting as well. We just discussed proposals and guidelines on applying for faculty grants over the summer. And lastly, I know you all are waiting to hear about what happened at the meeting on Thursday with Provost Muma. Basically, from what he told us, we mainly have to go through Faculty Senate, and he did give us some data points and knowledge that he knew. So we came up with a plan to get more data from students by sending out surveys through the deans of colleges, and then we are going to go to Faculty Senate and Dr. Jeff Jarman to discuss that.
Are there any questions for the chair? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving to item B, diversity, empowerment, and inclusion.
All right, hello everyone. So I emailed Joseph Shepard about the Inspire program, and after our Black History Month event, our committee will be prioritizing that, basically coming up with ideas so we have something set in stone that other committees in the future that hold the Inspire program will have something to work off of. And our Black History Month event, once again, is on Monday, the 24th, RSC Beggs Ballroom at 5:30. We put flyers out, and if you need that flyer to spread around, just ask me for it. I can get it to you. Meeting with Gabe tomorrow for basically ideas for March events and other things like that. Student fees committee, I'm on the student fees committee, so I told Senator Tubach, who's on the same task force as me, that I will be at the task force meeting on Monday, so he's in charge of taking the minutes and submitting them to President Miller. And that's about it.
Any questions for the chair? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move into item C, safety and student services.
Okay, so on February 6th, we had Coffee with a Cop. Unfortunately, we didn't have the manpower to distribute the survey, so that did not occur for this time. Besides Coffee with a Cop not having a survey, it went pretty successful. We pulled it out instead of being in the center of the Starbucks room towards the back. It was in the pathway on that long kind of bar table looking thing. So we had that there, and we had 108 students swipe in. That's not counting the students who kind of ducked in and grabbed a donut and left. But other than that, it went pretty good. Since the officers have the poker chips, and if you speak to the officer, you get a poker chip that gets you a free item or a discount, we had a lot of successful interactions between our students and officers. Besides Coffee with a Cop, we have the sexual misconduct legislation in our committee. After meeting with some of the Greek councils that we have on campus, we found out that there is, as of fall 2020, there will be a base requirement for sexual misconduct training to be included for Greek life. However, this program will still not be mandatory. There are ways that organizations could get around not doing that, and there will not be a set program like when you have gender diversity training. There's a set program that comes into your organization and does that. There will not be one for that, unfortunately, and it will also not include bystander training. Next week, I am part of the Student Fees Committee, so I will be altering my office hours to fit with that. Hopefully, I can figure out when I can do my office hours. Right now, it's looking like I might just come up short, but I will update the Senate either on Facebook or through an email if need be. And that is all I have.
Are there any questions for the chair? Senator Nazir?
So those trainings, they're not required of those Greek life organizations to undergo?
So in the past, the way that it worked is if you did the training, you would get extra points added to your overall score, from what I've heard from Gabriel. And so what they are now doing is it will be like you have a certain amount of points you need to meet, and doing those trainings will get you that point. However, if you don't do the training, it won't fail you, and you can still be recognized and acknowledged.
Senator Brown?
Are there plans to implement these trainings for other RSOs?
Currently, everything we're doing right now is just talk, and so we are looking into what we can do. There has been talk about having it for all RSOs. There is also talk about just having it for Greek organizations. So if anyone has any recommendations or perspectives that they would like to put forward, or people that they think someone in my committee should speak to, I would love that, because I'm not in Greek life. I don't know what's going on, so I need all of your perspectives.
Senator Nazir?
Was there any discussion as to why it can't be a requirement, like mandatory for these organizations to have these trainings, rather than having it be optional and rewarded for?
I'm sorry, I guess I don't understand your question.
Like, was there any discussion of why it's not mandatory, is the main question.
No, there was not. The way it was initially proposed was that it was mandatory. However, after further discussion, we realized there was a loophole.
Senator Day?
What is that loophole?
Okay, so let me, I'm going to take my SGA hat off for a second and put on my assistant director hat. So Fraternity and Sorority Life a year ago created what we call our accreditation program. So it's a program that many fraternity and sorority life communities across the country utilize, but it's basically to establish the set base expectations that we have of our fraternities and sororities on campus, or ones that are social-based fraternities and sororities. So this accreditation program last year, when we developed it, it had basic requirements of expectations that all of our fraternities and sororities have, and then we had, on top of that, additional requirements. It's tied to not necessarily recognition, but it's tied towards their accreditation on campus. So again, like these expectations we have of these groups, this is how we know some of our groups are being successful or not, and if they're not, then what we need to do to intervene to help that. This year, after evaluating that packet, we moved some of the things that were quote-unquote additional things into what our basic requirements are, but everything is weighted to a certain score, and you have to earn a certain amount of, it sounds bad, but points, but it's the score that you have as an organization in order to be accredited. Doesn't necessarily, again, mean you're recognized by the by us, but you're an accredited organization. And for example, if a fraternity or sorority doesn't, we'll use academics for a reason. If they don't meet the expectations of academics, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to be an accredited organization. It just means that they don't necessarily get that score. So when we moved these trainings up into the basic expectations, theoretically a group could not do it for that one training and still become an accredited organization because of the weight of the other scores that are all added up together. And then it's all tied into the standards, what we call our standards of excellence for these organizations. Theoretically, they could not do this training and still become an accredited organization because they're not required trainings, they're strongly encouraged trainings that we have. And that's if the organization wants to be an accredited organization, which all of them do because their national groups want them to be, that's what that is. I know it's very confusing, so if you have specific questions about it, I am happy to answer those because I know it is very confusing.
Senator James.
Do other RSOs have that same point system thing, or is it just for Greek life?
This is a Fraternity and Sorority Life initiative, so no, it's just for ones who are within the Fraternity and Sorority Life community.
I will say there are other national chapters that do require additional things, like one of the honor societies I belong to has a list of things that we have to do for national to recognize us. One of them is to be recognized by this body. So maybe not points-based, but there are still some that would catch an additional requirement. Senator Ritchie.
My first question is just clarification. So if they don't meet the total number of required points or whatever, that affects their accreditation, right? Correct?
So, yeah, so basically the range is 0 to 850, I think. And so they have to rank in at least 100 points. Now, 100 is not good, let's be honest. That's not positive. But the organizations that we intervene with are ones that are ranked 100 points or less. Can you repeat your question? Basically,
What is the effect of not meeting the point requirement for accreditation?
So it's a 2-year process. So if the organization is not accredited this year, then we then intervene with that organization, and they basically get another year to meet accreditation. If they don't meet accreditation their second year, then we forward a recommendation to this body, other bodies that they're not an accredited organization with us. This program, we designed it for ourselves, but it's not necessarily a program that we're only ones doing. There are other institutions across the country that have a very similar program that many national groups and their headquarters, national organizations are aware of some of these things. And so if you don't meet accreditation, regardless of which year, we send a letter to the national group to let them know. 9 times out of 10, my hope, I'm not the national group, but my hope would be that they would intervene along with us because they're not an accredited organization with us. But they do get, basically it's what we would put them on a probation, and then they do get a second try to do it. And then if not, our program then moves for us to basically move forward with a recommendation to remove recognition.
Senator Day.
How often does an organization not receive accreditation?
This is our first year doing it.
Senator Ritchie, do you still have a question?
Yes, my second question is, do we have any information or data on how many of these Greek life organizations choose not to participate in these trainings?
No, because this is our first year doing it. So this will be the first year that we know which groups have done it and which ones haven't. So we will eventually have that, but as of right now, we don't know. Past, I could give you a guess, but I couldn't give you hard data because this is our first year that we are actually tracking it.
Senator James.
So are there a certain number of people in the Greek organization that have to be at the meeting, or does it have to be everyone in that organization, or what is the cutoff point for getting your accreditation points?
So do you mean the to get the points for the training? I think it's 80%. We have to recognize that some of our groups are extremely small and some of them are extremely large, and so we couldn't, and I will say I own this decision, I couldn't stand there and say that 100% of your membership have to be there when some of our groups are 5 members or 3 members. And so we do have a set, like an 80% requirement. I will say many of them, their national groups require all of them to do it. So whether they're doing it with, like here at the institution or by requirement of their national group, I can probably almost guarantee 100% of our organizations have national requirements that they are required to obtain as well. Again, this is just our first year doing something like this, that we hold a standard for all of our fraternity and sorority organizations, not just our national, so in partnership with them.
Any other questions for the chair? Seeing none, thank you for your time. We'll move into item D, Ways and Means.
Hello, everyone. So the last Ways and Means Committee meeting, I was not present at that as I was doing things for my sorority, Mu Delta Alpha, and Hannah Ezel, she was the one who ran my meeting, and unfortunately she's not here today, but the committee discussed the Senate review bill that we will be, Senate review board process bill. They reviewed it, discussed it, but it was brought to our committee floor again today, and we came to a realization that there are a few parts that we're missing. So it's more on the side of, before we put that bill out, we have to put a couple of others. So with that being said, that means we need to put out a bill that basically makes our committee limited to senators only. Because if we're dealing with an internal process for this association, it would make sense that the members of this association, being the senators, they get to work on the bills as they would require to be, not required, we're still working on it, but it would be more on the side of, we're going to look at what requirements we want to set up for senators to serve within the Ways and Means Committee. So that's one thing that will come out before the Senate Review Board bill. There was one more bill that we have to present, and that is us moving certain things around. So there are a few statutes that should be in bylaws because that just logically makes sense. And so as a committee, we're going to work on that. And we're also looking at changing our meeting times since some of the committee members cannot meet at 5:15 on Wednesdays. With that being said, if there are any questions about the Senate Review Board bill as to what we're changing, I'm happy to take those answers or questions. And so, yeah, I'm open for questions.
Are there any questions for the chair? Seeing none, thank you for your time. With that, we'll move into Section 8, Appointments. Item A, SB-62-104, appointing the position of Student Fees Committee Member. Does the author wish to speak to this bill? It's the student fees. John Kirk. You gotta pull it up.
Sorry, we have multiple appointments tonight, and not having Senate last week threw me off. So John Kirk, I presented him for the Student Fees Committee because he is dedicated to representing the fine arts community on the student fees process, which is an essential part of ensuring that all students are heard on the Student Fees Committee, and that's just one extra person that we can now have representation from, which is amazing on the Student Fees Committee, and I think that he'll do a really great job advocating for his constituents. Even prior to our interview, he already began having conversations with his constituents about what they wanted to see from student fees, and I think the fact that he hadn't even gone through his interview yet really says something about how committed he is to serving on the Student Fees Committee. That's it.
Are there any questions for the author? Thank you. Is the nominee here? Would you like to speak on this?
Hello. Yes, student fees to me is extremely important. All things financial related to this university is important. Every single college at WSU needs to be represented, and anything that I can do, like myself, for my constituents, I want to be able to do. I have only been here in the Senate this semester, but since being here, I have seen what little things that need to be fixed, things with what my constituents talk to me about, the things that are wrong with the many buildings within the College of Fine Arts, or what the College of Fine Arts itself is doing that needs to be changed. I want to be able to be the voice not only for the College of Fine Arts, but for the students at large, for everyone here, because we need to be able to look back at our time here in Senate, not just myself, but anyone that is in Senate, and said, I did everything that I could do to help the people of the college that I am supposed to be representing. Not even, I'm a singer, I'm a vocalist, I'm a music ed major, not just for the music ed people, not just for the vocalists, but for the sculptors, for the theater majors, for the music theater majors, for every single person that is in College of Fine Arts and not even there itself. It's very important to me because I'm 26 years old. I'm coming to college. I'm a freshman, sophomore-ish, and the fact that I'm here, it took me some time out of high school to get to where I'm at, but I'm very, very passionate at anything that I do, and if I get this far into it, I want to do everything I can. I've had meetings with many different directors within the College of Fine Arts to see what they need to have done with their areas, with anything that they need, and there are many things. But on that note, there are also many things within the College of Fine Arts itself that need to be changed. So I hope that you can vote me into this position.
Are there any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
With a motion
Senator Madden,
to adopt by unanimous consent.
any objections? SB-62-104 is adopted with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into item B, SB-62-105, appointing Senate Standing Committee members. As the author, I will speak on it. It's just a short little bit. A couple senators reached out to me saying they could no longer make their committee meeting or had a concern wishing to change, and this is just correcting that. Are there any questions for me? Seeing none, we'll move into the debate period. Is anyone wishing to? Senator Madden.
Actually, am I getting the wrong version of the bill? It seems incomplete, like it doesn't specify who's going where. The text that I have here is appoint the position of Safety and Student Services Committee members after receiving the nominees' need to transfer committees and evaluating current committee membership. I hereby nominate Evelyn, Peter, and Aaron Mounts to these committee positions. Does that cover it? Or is there something missing?
Yes. So what this effectively does is reassigning them. What part are you considering missing?
Maybe I just misread it. It seemed to me like it didn't list who was going where, but I might have
so
just...
both individuals are going to that committee.
Okay, cool.
So that's why there wasn't a separation. Does that answer your concern? there any other points of clarification needed for this bill? Moving back to the debate period, is there anyone wishing to debate at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. Thank you. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Receiving a total of 22 in favor, 0 against, and 10 abstentions, this does pass its simple majority requirement. Moving into item C, SB-62-107, appointing the position of graduate senator. Does the author wish to speak to this bill? Alex.
So for Alex, due to personal reasons, I was not able to attend that interview. However, Vice President Berth was able to conduct the interview, and after discussing with the interview with Vice President Berth, I felt confident and comfortable with putting forward this nominee. So with that, I'll yield the rest of my time to Vice President Berth.
You're fine. So, yes, it's more difficult to go behind. So, Alex in his interview really presented himself for the wanting not only to be in this position, but wanting to be there for his fellows in the graduate school, regardless of, what discipline they may be. A little testing of the waters of wanting to go, and I don't want to steal too much of his thunder if he's going to come up and talk, but like how to get in touch with them, building that bridge and making sure that their voice is heard, not only here but by the university throughout the actions taken. If there are any questions, I'm open for them. Alex, would you like to speak on this? Yes, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alex Ratcliffe, and I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to be here this evening. I just wanted to start off by addressing the Senate with a few basic things, and thank you for being here and allowing me for the opportunity to be considered as a graduate senator. I'd just like to start telling you a little bit about myself. This can kind of help you set a basis for your understanding about who I am and perhaps why I have some of the views that I have. I'm 33 years old. I have no kids. I was born here in Kansas, born and raised over in Hutchinson. Graduated Hutch High in 2004, subsequently graduated from Hutch Community College 2 years later. My associate's in arts degree in pre-medicine prior to coming to Wichita State University the first time. I graduated with my bachelor's of science in biology, minors in chemistry and sociology in 2010. I then moved back to Hutchinson, where I'm from, to help take care of some family. I began working in industry for a little bit as an optometry assistant. I worked 1 year as that. I then went on to a few other jobs, working at Kroger and over in Hutchinson, and as a quality assurance lab tech. Subsequently, I commuted to McPherson as a lead man, where I worked for Hospira, which is a pharmaceutical drug manufacturing company. I eventually moved back to Wichita in 2014 to be closer to my older brother. Unfortunately, after 1 week, he'd suffered an unexpected medical episode and fell into a coma where we ended up having to take him off of life support 2 weeks later due to quality of life concerns. It was the single hardest thing I'd ever had to do in my life, and we were very close. People often mistook us for twins, even though he was a year and 10 months older than I was. After he passed away, I had a skin condition known as psoriasis, and it was exacerbated by the stress of losing him. It had gotten so bad that I was eventually diagnosed with 70% body coverage 6 months later. I began taking Humira injections. 13 months into taking these injections, I had an autoimmune response with this medication clashing with another medication that I was prescribed. It was actually an anti-cancer drug known as methotrexate. This subsequently resulted in a prolonged liver failure over the course of approximately 4 years, during which I endured countless hospital stays, medical troubles, and more blood transfusions than I can begin to remember. I am fortunate enough, though, to have a loving father who spent all of his time on an uncomfortable hospital bed for me for months, being there day and night, and without him, I probably wouldn't be here today. But thankfully, though, the good Lord blessed me with a liver transplant on June 6th of 2018. Unfortunately, the nature of these types of transplants are resulted from deceased donors. And so for that reason, I choose to seize each day the best that I can. After some initial difficulties from internal bleeding, they had to go back in and operate on me. After surgery, we had discovered that I had a heart murmur from an infection that ended up causing damage to my aortic valve. Doctors couldn't operate on me initially, though, because I had lost so much weight that they were afraid I was going to die on the table because I'd gotten down to 135 pounds. Thankfully, though, after months and months of rehab and physical therapy, I'd finally gotten strong enough for the doctors to have surgery on me. And actually last year, March 26th, 2019, I had an aortic valve replacement. This is followed by months and months of cardiac rehab. And so needless to say, I have been on my deathbed more than once. And I continue to fight every day and improve to get stronger and continue to better myself as a person. So I will say it again. I'm very happy to be here this evening. Now I'm on my first semester here at WSU as a graduate student, working on my master's degree in microbiology over in Dr. Schneegert's lab in Hubbard Hall in the biology department. This is where you can find me most of the time because I also work for Fawn Beckman over there as a microbiology lab assistant. When I'm not in class or doing research, I'm usually in the lab or working in the lab. I generally like to spend my time over at Teskett Center or just simply studying. I'd be happy to fill you in on some other hobbies, perhaps in a more formal setting, but in the interest of time, I should probably move on. I do have some limited experience in student government. I was actually in orchestra club in high school. Played bass for 8 years. I was first chair for the majority of the time in orchestra when I was constantly challenging for first chair. I try to follow this pattern in other efforts in my life, including my academics. Other than that, I do have some leadership roles in the past outside of my work experience. While I was an optometry assistant, I did volunteer and spend time with a doctor helping children with learning disabilities doing vision therapy with an emphasis on developing better learning strategies and ultimately improving their grades in school. I'm also an avid martial arts fan, an advocate, and while I was training in Taekwondo, as a more advanced rank, we would attend earlier classes and help the black belts in instructions of the younger and lower ranked members. So in both of these positions, I demonstrated the ability to work with others and to help them in any way that I could just benefit them. My reasons for applying for this position are straightforward and genuine. I feel like I'd be able to help network and support other students at WSU, show them things that I did not know about when I was starting off at WSU. I wish I had someone to tell me and show me some of the things that I did not know about and which I had to learn and experience for myself and help guide my college experience. I believe that I have a lot to offer in regards to advice on where to go for help and resources as far as how to deal with the various topics and issues that students have to deal with coming in as a freshman. If I can't figure out the answer, though, I know where to go and who to ask to find out. I believe that stressing to new students the importance of engaging with their professors and making meaningful connections with them is invaluable to becoming a confident and successful student at WSU and anywhere else that you decide to go afterwards in life. Making these meaningful connections with your professors and taking part in undergraduate research can be a vital part of your college experience and helping you to decide what you want to do after college. I believe that the majority of college freshmen honestly do not have a good sense or a good idea of what they want to do on a daily basis after they get out of college and which field of study they actually want to go into. I think the last thing that any college student wants to do is to graduate with a degree that you either can't get a job in your industry in or you wind up being in a job that you are not happy with. So I feel that following some of my advice can help to prevent this from occurring. So to display and to prove this point to you, I emphasize my determination in this matter. I have a couple of events that I'm participating in to be a good advocate and lead by example these policies and goals that I have and that I will encourage to push in my position as an SGA senator. First, there is an event where I would be called SRI Peer Mentorship going on June 7th through the 11th, whereby I'll be working with freshmen on research labs and guide them and instruct them on important matters as a student, starting off at Wichita State University. I feel it's important for students to hear some of the important things that I have to say in regards to what they need to deal with coming in as a freshman. So to these oncoming students, some of the things I would say, I'd probably strongly encourage them to, like I said, build strong relationship with other students and potentially graduate students in their field of study. If they don't know where they want to study, I'd highly recommend to possibly do lab rotations as an undergraduate. They can also work on building a professional resume and their CV. I like to stress the importance of not being intimidated by their professors and having open conversation with them on a regular basis. I know personally, every week I have an exam. I like to go meet with my professors and just kind of gauge how my study habits are and how well I feel like I am prepared for the exam. So it is important for you to figure out how you're going to move forward in your college career, where you want to spend your time. Making these interpersonal connections here at WSU can highly affect your quality of your experience here at the college. So I'd also like to strongly encourage joining activity groups and joining social events on the Shocker Blast announcements page as a way to connect with other students. Obviously, this can help students become more informed and more involved on campus and with more important events relevant to that student's success, both in a short and long term. Looking into joining group organizations like Student Government Association, for example, or one of the other 100 student activities councils on campus can help students connect with others who are going through the same hurdles that they are. This can provide them access to students with similarities, which can be beneficial for the individual and making important life decisions about their future and in their daily activities as well, such as encouraging people to go into the Heskett Center more often. I realize I did not feel sometimes that I adequately fulfilled my college experience, though, because I didn't make some of those meaningful connections as an undergraduate, and so I feel like I missed out on a lot of potentially useful experiences as an undergraduate. So when I first started off as a college career, I had my older brother to help guide me a little bit. He helped guide me in some of the classes to take, curriculum to take, and things like that. Just literally where everything was at on campus, how to, deal with financial aid and Blackboard and all the other various things you have to deal with as a student. So having him as a sort of a guide or a mentor, I believe, was critical in helping me to get to where I was at today. I was able to take advantage of these opportunities as being provided to us as students all across campus because I didn't know about it unless somebody was there to help tell me. So, but he was only one grade level ahead of me, and so ultimately because of that, it had limitations on our vision. So I think that for that reason, freshmen need a little more foresight, probably work with someone several more grade levels ahead of them. Without utilizing these resources and seizing the opportunity to learn and help build my foundation moving forward, I would have suffered some of the inabilities and to become the student I am today. Another thing that I have been asked to do is to be fortunate enough to be involved in an event called Science Olympiad as a judge, where I will help work with participants who are younger students from all over from Kansas in science labs, answering questions on food chemistry with a focus on fermentation and pickling. So this is another means to help reach out to our youth and help bring them and get them excited about coming to college and getting them excited particularly about maybe chemistry and biology, my passions. So that's just a good way to become involved also. I have another friend also in the chemistry department that has events coming up, and so he's going to stay in contact with me as well. So each of these events I will be personally taking part in order for me to give back to WSU and to the students and to be a good representative of this association. I'd also like to add that as a graduate senator, I can also relate to some of the other senators here as well, from the liberal arts and sciences, biology department, the older and returning adults, because I am 33 and I did have a hiatus separation from my undergraduate to my graduate education. So on top of that, I can also relate to the disabled students because of some of the issues that I've had to face with my medical issues. I recently found out last semester that I apparently have testing anxiety, which a lot of students obviously do not know that they have. And so I feel that this is probably an area that we could probably bring more awareness to. I feel that we could probably have some kind of screening of students and maybe implement some of these things that could prevent students from letting their grades suffer. I recall at a recent town meeting also that President Golden, someone brought up the issue of there was no transportation across campus after 5 p.m. for disability students. So I feel that's probably another issue that needs to be addressed. I'm sure somebody probably has already taken that and ran with it though. But I feel that my versatility, because of my ability to relate with such a wide variety of students, can make me invaluable to being cohesive relationships and building cohesive relationships among the various committees across campus. I also feel it's important for students to perhaps hear from the perspective of other students as well, and issues advising them on the classes and how and where to go and to do and what they need to do, such as financial aid, accessing Blackboard and things like that in the library. I think sometimes perhaps students are shy and they struggle with social anxiety, as I do. And so I think that hearing these from other students could be much more beneficial than, say, maybe an advisor who they see as someone having more of an 8 to 5 kind of a job, for example. I'm also curious to know if the academic advisors are being monitored or if there's any satisfaction survey process or system in place to gather information or feedback from how well the students actually feel they are being represented and being guided by their advisors. So I feel that's probably an area we can get some feedback on as well. I know personally I kind of feel like my advisor may have been lacking in a few areas in retrospect, but I digress. As a graduate student, though, we have to complete a plan of study to determine what classes we're actually going to take for every semester, not just the immediate semester coming up. And I recall as an undergraduate, you basically only schedule your very next semester's classes, and so I think that if we had a little more foresight in scheduling further out, it would increase our effectiveness in helping to guide some of these students on a more successful path. I feel that we, or perhaps even myself, could run a group of meetings on educating these students in all the different matters I've kind of addressed here. I feel that we could track our progress on the effectiveness of these presentations and see how well they actually feel they're being benefited by them as well. So I would like to finally finish by listing just some of my strengths and weaknesses. Some of my strengths include my attention to detail, my thoroughness, my flexibility, and my resilience, and my patience. I actually find this to be more of a dichotomous moral dilemma too, because sometimes my patience can actually be my greatest strength and yet my greatest weakness. So some of my other weaknesses are my inability to say no to others because of my natural magnanimous behavior, and public speaking, which I assure you I am working on. I will get over my nerves. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your guys' time, and with that I'd like to open the floor for any questions.
Are there any questions for our nominee? Senator Kirk.
So, myself being in the adult learning program as well, how you have this wide range of relating to people, which I think is fantastic. How can you relate to a 18-year-old, 17-year-old that's right out of high school that may not want to hear from anyone? Like, how can you speak to that person?
Senators, I'd remind you to keep your questions germane. He's here for a graduate. So technically, 18-year-old wouldn't have graduated college yet.
You don't know that?
That's true. I don't know that.
Okay, more directed towards your specific, a 21-year-old, 22-year-old.
Fair question. Thank you for your question too, by the way. I do have a sociology minor, so I have a little bit of background in kind of interpersonal interactions with others. I was actually wanting to become an optometrist, so that's kind of why I had gone and had my sociology degree, because I was wanting to open up my own practice. But I do have a lot of experience in working with youth and the younger generation, students in high school, friends and family also. And so I just feel like it's easy to talk to the younger generation somehow. I don't know why. I just kind of naturally speak to them. Sometimes they open up to me a little easier, I think, than some people when you talk to them on more of a level head than, per se, somebody of higher education or a professor or a teacher that could be a little more intimidating.
Any other questions for our nominee? Senator Ritchie.
First, I want to, say, like, wow, your thoroughness was very evident in your prepared speech. Wow, very, very, very nicely done. And also, thank you for being so vulnerable and open in front of the Senate. Can't imagine some of the things that you've gone through. The question I have for you is, the graduate Senate position has been sort of famous for being kind of hard to keep those senators. You guys are work to the bone, and you guys have to do a lot. How can you ensure? And I have your application here. You guys do a lot of work. How can you ensure that you're able to put forth the time required to do all the great things that you have in mind to do?
It's a fair question. Thank you for your question. So I pretty much don't have any life outside of school. I basically get up and come to campus first thing in the morning. I'm here all day. I intend on probably extending my hours out when I am on campus, because honestly 8 to 5 is not cutting it to me. I just feel like there's just not enough time in the day for me sometimes, and so that is a fair question. But I think adhering to a stricter schedule probably would be a beneficial thing for me to do. Having said that, like I said, one of my strengths is my flexibility, and so I think that my ability to commit to more hours in the evening as well could also potentially help alleviate that. So, does that answer your question?
Are there any other questions for the nominee? Seeing none, you may either stay or leave for debate.
Thank you so much.
Moving into the debate period, is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this moment?
With the motion?
Senator Madden.
To adopt by unanimous consent.
Is there an objection? Seeing none, SB-62-107 is adopted with unanimous consent of the Senate. Moving into item D, SB-62-108, appointing the position of graduate senator. Does the author wish to speak to this?
All right.
right. So I'm super excited for this nominee. Colin, if you don't know already, is our graduate assistant for the Shocker Support Locker, and he has done just some amazing work with the Shocker Support Locker, and so I'm super excited to see how his work through the Shocker Support Locker, all of his time and dedication that he's put into that, how that can be used also for SGA, and I know this is something that he will more than likely speak about also, but his connection with the Graduate Student Council will be essential for SGA also by being able to relay all of the things that we do within this association to what he does with that student organization, and just bridging the gap once again between graduate students and undergraduate students and just SGA as a whole. So I'm super excited, and yeah, I'll take any questions you have.
Are there any questions for the author? Seeing none, thank you for your time. As the nominee is here, do you wish to speak to this as well?
I think I do. I've done this before, I think. Hello, everyone. My name is Colin Munson, and I am obviously a graduate student here at WSU. Start off a brief preview of my history as a college student. I went to Campbell University back in 2013 as a wrestler there. I spent 2 years there briefly, and then I transferred over to Notre Dame College and wrestled there for another 2 more years, and then I came here and finished up my degree in sport management. Then I started out not knowing what I wanted to do the rest of my life. Saw the opportunity to go to graduate school. First it was in sport management, then I decided to do my graduate degree in business administration. Opportunity arose that I could work with the Shocker Support Locker here in SGA, and then how could you not take that opportunity to be part of the community? Because I always, growing up, wanted to be part of Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I always liked giving people, and that was a perfect opportunity to do so. But my experience there at Shocker Support Locker has started out with very different point of views. Obviously, a lot of people that come to Shocker Support Locker are international students, and international students are most of the time, or a lot of the time, graduate students. So dealing with them and hearing their opinions and not understanding what their problems are, issues are, and why they have so many different point of views than undergrads do, as my experience was before that, just undergraduate. And then being a part of the Graduate Student Council as a secretary, and also representing the business school as a council member. Being a part of those meetings has opened my eyes a lot to other people's, other graduates' perspectives, their concerns. Our last council meeting last Monday was very eye-opening because a lot of the issues they have, I didn't know myself as a graduate student that people have, which is very interesting to see different points of views, because we have right now, I believe it's 16, if I'm wrong, Gabriel, please correct me, 16 council members across the campus. We're going to go more. Other ideas to go out and get other, out of the 68, I believe it is, of total departments on campus. Hopefully fill as many as we can for this year, but continuing hearing their voices and continue understanding where they're coming from. And another reason why is that it's so important is because GSE is still a small organization. We are just starting to develop, and we're nowhere near this half or not even 1% of the size of SGA right now. So having somebody, part of GSC, bring up those graduate students' concerns or issues and have them bring it to a much bigger organization who represents all students would be a very important aspect to have, a very partnership we could have, because I could bring issues that they have to this Senate meeting, and it could be presented as a great connection between the two until we grow and we can even partner even as a whole, GSC and SGA. But until that time, we're still working to grow, and I think that being part of the business school, being the coordinator or the Senate member as a business school, I have to listen to Senate or graduate students in the other business school and hear their point of view, stuff like that, as well as hearing other schools around campus as well. So I think that any way possible that they can be heard, because like I said, we're 17%, but I believe we are 14% of the campus, our students on campus, but regardless of our size, we still need to be heard, and as well as undergrad as well, because like I said, I have experience in undergrad as coming out of high school and going into college, and then now being a graduate student. So like I said, thank you for allowing me to be here today, and look forward to seeing any questions and seeing more of you in the future.
Are there any questions for the nominee? Senator Ritchie.
Hi, Colin.
Hey.
So the question I have for you is kind of the same that it was for our last applicant. You're a famously busy person. I think it's been mentioned in these Senate meetings before. You do a lot. You represent a great body, a great constituent body. How would you plan on, or do you have any ideas on how you'd be able to section off part of your time to dedicate towards SGA work? Because I'm sure you have some great ideas in mind, but how you'd plan on setting aside some time for that?
Well, first off, when I first applied for this, that was one of my biggest concerns as well, is that I'm already part of the GSC and I'm already part of Chocolate Sport Locker and I'm a full-time graduate student as well. At first, it was kind of an iffy situation, but now it's kind of like there's no reason for me not to be part of or set time for this the senator position, because I'm already part of the GSC and being able to I have this time frame available during the times, and I also have time for the committee I'm going to be part of if I'm appointed, and time for multiple other times, because like I said, it's not working at the Chocolate Sport Locker has been very busy, as you can say. Like some weeks it's like I am working 60 hours a week probably, and other weeks I'm working 15, 20, kind of like that. So it's not necessarily I'm very flexible in my time, so like that, as long as I schedule it correctly, as long as I have an amazing advisor, as we all know, as Gabriel, who has been very lenient on like, hey, if you need to take a break and you relax, go ahead, kind of a thing. So it's been very, I have a great supporting cast with SI as well, and everybody at SGA. And working with the students, they have been very dedicated as well. Student assistants and volunteers have been very available to cover for certain things. So with that being said, my professor has also been very, because my classes are going on right now currently, but they have been very open and very open about me being able to construct my time in a way where I can make everything I need to make. And it's going to be tough, but I'm excited for it. So hopefully that answers your question.
Are there any other questions for our nominee? Senator Zacharias.
What perspectives and goals do you have for the Ways and Means Committee?
For the Ways and Means Committee, honestly, that was getting the voice out for more so getting a voice out for Chocolate Sport Locker kind of a thing. And honestly, I picked that one because it was more of the challenging one, because I want to learn more about it as well, stuff like that. And honestly, after hearing Ridja and hearing some of her points today, it was very interesting, because I learned some more things and what they deal with and some of the points they have to attack or go after. So I think for me, it's more so of a learning process for the first couple of times, and after that, once I learn it and once I figure out my point and my handprint into the committee, I think it'd be a very great opportunity for me to move forward with it.
Any other questions for our nominee? Seeing none, you may either stay or leave for debate.
Thank you.
Moving into our debate period, is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Senator Ritchie.
With a motion, I move to pass by unanimous consent of the Senate.
Any objection? Seeing none, SB-62-108 has passed with unanimous consent of the Senate. Seeing no unfinished business, we will skip Section 9 and move directly into Section 10. New business. Item A, SB-62-097, grant recognition to Her Campus Wichita. Does the author wish to speak to this?
No.
Remember, you got to speak in the mic. Senator Khan, is the committee that reviewed it, do you have anything you would wish to share?
So they came in and they spoke during public forum. You all have already heard from them, so I wouldn't want to take more of your time. So, no?
And also seeing as they are no longer here, we will skip their time to present to you, but they've already done so. With that, we'll move into the debate period. Is there anyone wishing to debate on this item at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period. Senator Day.
Point of order, I think there needs to be a second read.
You are correct.
I didn't catch that, sorry.
Nope, you're good. Just speeding through and skipped the steps. Thank you for catching me. With that, we'll move into debate and voting next week. Moving on to item B, SB-62-102, grant recognition to the Wichita State University Share of Planned Parenthood. Does the author wish to speak to this?
No.
Does the committee chair who reviewed this wish to speak?
No, thank you.
They are also not here, but they have presented. So we'll move in to debate and vote on this item next week. Senator Nazir.
Oh, I just wanted to add to debate, but should we do that next week or?
That'll come next time.
Okay, cool.
Moving into item C, FB-62-023, individual funding. Now, this one has had a few amendments, if I'm remembering which one was amended. So we're going to pull up the amended version, and I will invite the treasurer to come up and speak on this bill. That's 24. All legislature. 23.
I see. I'm on it. Just a second. Give me like 3.
Yay! Okay. Basically, it was just amended in committee. We had 7 students traveling to the same conference, but they were all, essentially what happened is we had 7 students traveling to the same conference. We decided to split it up like we would with organizational funding and give each student a portion of like $2,000. And then we kind of came back to the table, talked about it again, because we realized we have more money that we can spend on individual funding. And so the committee decided to give $600 to one student who came to us with some sort of extraordinary issues that he was trying to deal with. I'm not going to go into it too much just for the sake of his privacy, but so they decided to award $600 to him, $400 to, it would be 4 other students, and then $285 to 2 students who submitted their submissions late but also needed funding. So that was the decision. Does anyone have any questions as to the changes?
Are there any questions for the treasurer?
Yeah.
Senator Ritchie.
My question is not about the changes that were made, but rather the vote that BNF came to. There was 3 votes against this bill. Can you explain that?
Oh, did I? There isn't supposed
So
to be. I messed
the
it up.
3 on the end is abstentions, not the middle number is against. 4
so we
against,
had,
abstain.
We had 2 people.
Thank you.
2
Sorry.
people gone, and then I usually abstain. Yeah.
Any other questions for our treasurer? Senator Zacharias.
I noticed on one of the lines there was, I'm trying to find it, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. There's a lot.
Well, on line 53, for example, that the Committee on Budget and Finance has recommended that the Senate approve so much amount so that it can be spent in the 3 categories as the recipient sees fit. I was just wondering if you could talk more about that decision.
Oh, sorry, it's on the new, yeah, so that was when we were awarding, this initial decision was to award everyone 200, is that at the bottom?
I'm looking at the one in the share drive, and I think it's 53.
Yeah, sorry, the amended bill is up here, but that is, okay. Let me see. Sorry, I couldn't find it on mine. Yeah, so basically what it was with, here, let me. Here, that is still on line 182. It still says that. Basically, we gave them $285, and since it was such a small amount, we didn't want to specify how they were going to spend it. And so I'll still keep to the regulated amounts and ask them to submit their registration and travel and lodging receipts, but I'm not going to tell them how to spend it for such a small amount. Does that make sense?
Senator James, you still have a question?
So with the amendments, what's the total amount of money left in individual funding?
So it should be at the bottom. So this would result in a total allocation of $15,870 and then $7,165 for the rest of this. Oh wait, no, sorry, $13,330 for the rest of the semester available. If I did it right. If it's wrong, tell me and then I'll go fix it. Yeah.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Senator Webb?
For the 12th one, it says, I guess line 125, it says that they requested 375 and the committee approved 400. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, he was only asking for travel expenses, and generally, basically, he talked to me and he was like, I think it's going to cost $375, but it might cost up to $400. And since we've been approving people for $400, we went ahead and just approved him. And then whatever he submits his receipts for, that's the amount of money that he's going to get back. Does that make sense? So we decided to give him just a little bit of leeway so that if his original ticket quote wasn't the same, then he hasn't paid for his ticket yet. He just submitted a quote. So.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, thank you very much. Seeing as the treasurer and budget and finance have marked this one as timely, we'll move directly into the debating period. You will need it open if there are amendments. Is there anyone wishing to debate at this time? Senator Day.
Yeah, just very briefly, I had indicated to several senators that I had some concerns about the bill, but I think that these were largely addressed to committee. The amendments, with the exception of a couple of the people, went through, and the reason those two weren't given the 400 was because they had applied late, and since they'd gone late enough in the process, we just decided to approve them anyway. So, yeah, that was kind of the reasoning. So I'll be voting in favor of this bill.
Is there anyone else wishing to debate at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. Thank you. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Requiring a simple majority, it does pass, receiving a total of 22 in favor, 0 against, and 10 abstentions. Moving into item D, FB-62-024, organizational funding. Does the author wish to speak to this?
No.
Are there any questions for the author? All right. Is that mark timely too? Seeing as it has been marked timely, we will also move into the debate period. Is there anyone wishing to speak in debate at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the voting period. All those in favor, please raise your hand and hold them high. Thank you. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. With that, FB-62-024 has passed the simple majority requirement, receiving 22 total in favor, 0 against, and 10 abstentions. Moving now into section 11, remarks and announcements. Is there anyone wishing to speak in remarks and announcements? Senator James.
Just a reminder, February 24th, which is Monday, 5:30, RSC Beggs Ballroom is the Black History Month open mic event. Hope to see you all there.
Chief Short.
If anyone is wanting to sponsor the higher education funding in the state of Kansas resolution that I wrote, please find me after Senate or shoot me an email. I would appreciate it. Thanks.
Senator Day.
Real quick, the Fairmount College Student Advisory Council will have a meeting this Friday at 2 p.m. In Lindquist Hall on the second floor in the basically the liberal arts office. It's a good opportunity to meet with some higher up administrators in the Fairmount College, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this counts as a dean meeting for many of the senators, not all, but many of them. So if that applies to you, I'd encourage you to attend.
So I'll say meeting with any dean does count, but it's preferred your dean. But yes, if you go and present to a dean, that would count. Senator Kirk.
As a reminder, at the beginning of last semester, a group that I am a part of called Shacapella is performing here at WSU for the first time on Monday. We are performing our set that we did at ICCA. All pieces that we are doing were written by us ourselves. They were arranged by us. And we want to show everyone to the SGA what this group can do. Tonight I'm not able to be there, but they are at a women's basketball game performing there for the halftime. And I want you guys to see yourself what you have invested in and to see what they are doing now.
Any other remarks and announcements? Senator Ritchie.
John, could you give us the date for that again? Date and time?
Yes. The date is going to be the 24th, this coming Monday. The time is going to be 5 to 5:30 at Wiedemann Hall.
Senator Khan.
Hello, everyone. So I'm sure by this point you all know that I'm part of Mu Delta Alpha, the first Muslim sorority on campus. So last time we asked for funding from SGA to fund like our trip to Texas where our nationals are. Now, I attended the national summit and it was truly amazing. I got to meet the actual founder, Samira Maddox, who started Mu Delta Alpha for everyone. I got to make connections and it was fun to see what we can do as a sorority on campus. So me bringing that up is me telling you the funding you give to individuals or organizations can go a long way. We are so thankful and grateful for that funding that you all allocated to us, and thank you very much for that.
Any other remarks and announcements? I do have one, but I don't have it open right now. Give me a second. I'll make sure I'm giving you the right number. There it goes. So during my email last week, during the cancellation, I also gave kind of an update of standing on the trend of senators not submitting senator hours. We were making good progress, but we've kind of hit a backsliding. So we were at 27%. We're now at 59% that have not submitted. So for any of those that did not submit last time and didn't submit this time, in order to prevent trends from happening or continuing, I will be submitting your name to SRB. I'm not going to go into details of who they are. You all know who you are. The other thing I have is for our new senators, Senator Thomas, Senator Mahajan, if I could see you after to schedule a new senator training, because I think we missed last time and I haven't done yours yet. Other than that, that's all I had. Senator Nazir, did you have one? Mm-hmm.
Hey friends, so obviously we have the SGA election coming up soon in a couple months, or very soon, and we also have our presidential election coming up in November. And so obviously we have a lot of students who are from Kansas, some are out of state, so I would just reach out to your constituents and see what's going on, let them know about both elections that are happening, since most of them can vote in the presidential, but obviously since they're students they can vote here, but just getting them involved, that way they know that their voices are heard, and they can use that experience in their real lives. And if they're having trouble finding out when their state's primaries are, what their states do for their primaries, we can all look that up together, but if you have any questions, then you can come see me.
Senator Spencer.
Hello, everyone. I'm a part of the WSU College Democrats here on campus, and I just wanted to remind you that we have a meeting on Thursday or tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. And please reach out to your constituents and actually please let them know, because there is very few individuals that maybe that know about this or just maybe aren't aware. So I would just encourage you all to tell them that we exist. Thank you.
Why am I going blank on your name?
Ella Perkins.
Yes, Senator Perkins.
I would just like to also point out on the note of Rija and or Senator Nazir and Senator Spencer. Next week, College Democrats is hosting a voter registration event. It's Friday, February 28th from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the RSC first floor. If your constituents, if you're talking to them, please point them to this event. It's really important that people are registered to vote and engage citizens. It's, very important. I won't go on about it, but please point them to this event. Thank you.
Any other remarks and announcements? Senator Zacharias.
I'm sorry, I just remembered that Friday is our treasurer's birthday, so we should all give her a round of applause because she's going to be older.
Happy early birthday.
Any other remarks and announcements? Did you have one, Senator Spencer, or was that not telling me to hold on? You're good. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and We will adjourn at 8:19 p.m. with a silent roll call. Please do remember to submit your hours. If there are any questions with, or if you have had any issues or concerns with either the form or what is required, please come talk to me.